so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Visit MendoReady.org. It's our one-stop shop for emergency information. You can sign up for emergency alerts, find your pre-established evacuation zone on our current emergencies map, and find hazard and preparedness information.
Imagine you're faced with a disaster such as a wildfire and you're ordered to evacuate. I'll bet you wish you had more time in that moment. Now's your chance to buy yourself that time. Sign up for Nixle and Mendo Alerts on our website, MendoReady.org. Do it today.
If you want your family to be as resilient as possible, it's important to take some time today and visit MendoReady.org, where you can look up your pre-established evacuation zones on our current emergencies map. You can also find important tools to help maintain your situational awareness, such as the Alert California wildfire cameras and the Caltrans road conditions cameras. We hope you'll take some time today to prepare so that your family can be Mendo ready. Thank you.
I realized that my life was going to change dramatically in ways that I did not know or understand or even comprehend. I was going to have to really go to the well and become accountable and adjust to a lot of things differently.
Que queríamos era que naciera, ya, sí, ya quiero tener, entonces ahorita lo que tenemos es aprovecharla, quererla y cuidarla lo más que se pueda.
Creo que a todos nos preocupa la primera vez que nos dicen que vamos a ser padres.
When we started the program, my daughter was about 3 months, and my daughter's 22 months now. Something I love about my child, that she's healthy, she's happy, she knows that she's cared for and loved. Those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that she had, and she has them.
I'm happy today with my daughter. She's the greatest thing in my life, and I'm glad to wake up and see her, and everything I do it for her.
Sí, bueno, yo también vengo de una familia separada. Creo que por eso también me motiva a estar más presente con él, de quizás también estar de la forma quizás que yo no la tuve para Máximo, y también comprender que el padre no solo es el que pone los límites y las reglas, sino que también está ahí para hablar, acompañar, regalonear, jugar, cosas lindas también, no solo ser el guía para el niño, sino que también un compañero de vida.
I was more of elated and thankful because for 3 months I was in baby land. And when you're in baby world, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and hoping you know that you're just supportive in the ways that you can be supportive.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. Cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, sino más bien un programa de estado programado para la ayuda solamente. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros, porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades. Siempre nos hemos podido apoyar en Gaby a través de su programa. Encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
You know, my experience has been nothing but positive. Annette has been wonderful. She's on time. She lets me know if there's going to be any changes in the schedule.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I still feel the challenge of being a parent now in today's world is immense. I think that you need support.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres, y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help, because you might think that you know what you're doing, but it's always okay to have extra support, and don't do it alone.
Give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
Good morning. We will call this meeting to order at 10:06 a.m. I'd like to invite the clerk to conduct the roll call.
Member Gasca. Member McNerlin. Present. Member Neverez is absent. Member Bailey.
Here.
Vice Chair Crane.
Present.
Chair Klein.
Present. I'd like to ask Director McNerlin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God. Thank you. Alrighty, we will now move to item 2, approval of the agenda. Before I invite any action, I would like to ask if this board is okay with us having 6A, which is our general manager update, moved ahead of item 4. All right, we have a roll call vote, please.
Member Gasca.
Aye.
Member McNerlin.
Aye.
Member Bailey.
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane.
Aye.
Chair Klein.
Aye. All right, the motion passes. Moving now to item 3. The GSA board welcomes input from the community and audience. If there is a matter of business on the agenda that you are interested in, you may address the board when this matter is considered. If you wish to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. I'm not seeing any public comment from the room. Clerk, is there any public comment online?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
All right.
Oh, no.
Seeing none. We will now move to item 6A. My hope is that the general manager will provide some context in his update for us to then move on to our regularly scheduled items.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, members of the board, also members of the public. Appreciate the opportunity to lead off this meeting and provide an opportunity to introduce myself and then also provide an update as to the transition that's occurring in management of the GSA. I think that's probably top of mind. So first off, my name is Blake Adams. It's a pleasure to be in this role on behalf of the City of Ukiah. I am a full-time employee of the City of Ukiah in the role of Chief Resilience Officer. I'm fairly new to this area. I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary in Ukiah, and I'm very much looking forward to this opportunity to protect the groundwater system and related resources. As part of any transition, there'll be a few bumps in the road, and I just want to acknowledge that this is a complete transition from one entity, West Geos Associates, to the City of Ukiah, and there'll be undoubtedly some bumps, some change in procedural items, change in approach, and that's to be expected with the transition like this. So again, just in advance to ask for some forgiveness if some things appear in a different order than what you have previously seen. Also, obviously there's been lots of conversations that have occurred historically that I myself have not been privy to. And so as items arise, I look to the board to kind of check me on some of that past conversations. In terms of the transition, I think it's going quite well. So we're quite stable in terms of the administrative functions of the GSA. But we're also very mindful of cost control during this transition. So we want to make sure that while West Geos Associates are still under contract with the GSA, and the City of Ukiah is also under contract in terms of our administrative services, that we're not creating a costly transition with a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations. And so to that, we're trying to balance cost, meetings, and getting us up to speed with the ongoing functions of the GSA. I do expect that over the next couple of months, we'll have a lot more meetings, more conversations, particularly as it relates to the budget, JPA amendments, upcoming items. From our vantage, I think things are quite stable, and that's how we'd like to keep it for the moment. And so my approach will be to follow the board and the tax decision-making and leadership on this issue, defer to direction, and to make sure that we protect these valuable natural resources. And lastly, I just want to give a lot of credit and kudos to West Geos Associates for doing such a fantastic job in management this far. They have been such an amazing resource, both to me and to the city in this transition. I also want to give a lot of credit to the city clerk's office with the City of Ukiah for their invaluable support during this transition. So with that, also I'd like to thank the board for their ongoing commitment to ensuring the sustainability of our valley's natural resources. With that, I think we'll move, I'll provide open for discussion and move on to the clerk.
Are there any questions for the general manager at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move to line 4, starting with 4A, update regarding the City of Ukiah Administrative Services Contract. As we will all remember, for those of us that were here and participated in the January meeting, there was discussion around the contract and certain clauses having to do with conflict of interest. The board directed the chair to work with staff to finalize the language. During the transition, there was a short time frame that did not allow for that consultation, so I requested that it be brought back for full board conversation if there were any changes that needed to be made to the language. As you'll see in our packet, the section where conflict of interest code is called out. And so I'll pause there and turn to our general manager, see if there are any comments he would like to make as well.
No, just briefly, just want to mention as an extension of my update, in regards to this item, we're in month 2 of management, and so as of February 27th, the city has taken on management, and that was due to the approval of the city council for the approval of that contract. So I don't have much to add beyond that. Thank you, Chair.
All right, I'll look to my colleagues. Are there any questions or comments? Are we satisfied with the language presented?
You might speak to the recommended action.
Yes. All right, the recommended action is receive staff's update regarding conflict of interest language incorporated into fully executed professional services contract with the City of Ukiah. So there's no action needed. All right, seeing no additional comments, we will now move to item 4B, preliminary fiscal year 25-26 Groundwater Sustainability Agency budget presentation.
Thank you. Let me just pull up the attachment. Okay, I think we can see that. Again, this is another sort of brief item, but in the process of, we're in the budget formulation cycle, and so we wanted to make sure that we brought forward a preliminary budget at this time, really in an attempt just for full transparency, and also to demonstrate the kind of the general direction that the GSA is taking. What we're not trying to do today is to have a lengthy discussion about this budget, but rather present the preliminary budget that West Yost Associates and the City of Ukiah have put together in preparation for a lengthier discussion with an ad hoc, a budget ad hoc committee to formalize a final budget for the June GSA board meeting for approval. And so there's, what you'll note, I'll just point out a few changes or things to kind of take note of. You'll see some increases in certain areas, particularly in terms of some revenue collection, and mostly that is due to the rising rates of inflation year over year. And so I think we noted in the staff report that the expected revenue is increasing by about 7% year over year. It's actually less than that. So in relationship to the actuals for this existing fiscal year, it's roughly about a 2.3 to 3% increase. And again, that's reflecting the inflation, the change in inflation. But beyond that, you'll also note that there are some grant funding as well in this budget, which is really great to see. And beyond that, again, the recommended action is just for the board to receive this budget presentation, albeit it's very brief, and then to establish a budget ad hoc committee to finalize the FY 25-26 budget.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions from the board on the preliminary budget?
Yeah, I was happy to see this. Thank you. I was happy to see that we still had some net income after the projects that we had planned for. And so that we're not overtaxing everyone to pay for this. We're coming out pretty good here with only 1%. That's good to see. So thank you. This is a nice presentation, and I was really happy to see.
Director Bailey.
As an alternate member, this is my first time seeing the budget, but one thing, especially going into the ad hoc, that would be nice to see is the actuals compared to the budget for the 24-25 fiscal year, how that progress has been going. I'm sure that you've done the analysis of that in terms of developing the preliminary 25-26, but I know for the ad hoc, it would be really helpful to get that comparison of how the budget is stacking up with actual expenditures.
Absolutely, yeah, we plan to, and I'll admit that, again, we're in month 2 of this transition, and we're still, myself and management are still developing a better understanding of all the intricacies of this budget, but noted, I think that will definitely be, there'll be very open and transparent discussion around that.
Thank you for those comments. I'll echo in agreement, would prefer to see the actuals during our budget conversation in June, incorporated into the presentation. All right, I'd also like to ask the board, in terms of the budget ad hoc, look to direction and conversation. Would we like to continue the process of having a budget ad hoc to work with staff to develop the budget? And if so, who would like to serve on that ad hoc?
Speaking for the normal representative for the Russian River Flood Control District, Chris Watt would be willing to be on the ad hoc for the budget going forward.
Great.
I have been on that ad hoc and would like to continue.
Okay.
I move that those two fine folks be appointed.
All right, we have a motion by Director Crane and a second by Director McNerlin. Ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Member Gasca.
Aye.
Member McNorlin.
Aye.
Member Bailey.
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane.
Aye.
Chair Klein.
Aye. And forgive me, we probably should have asked for public comment ahead of that vote.
I've been keeping an eye,
Okay.
and there's no public comment online.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, any further comments or discussion on item 4B? Seeing none, we will move to item 4C, results and next steps regarding the Upper Russian River groundwater dependent ecosystem and interconnected surface waters study request for proposals. And turn to our general manager.
Mike.
Mic not working. Try it again.
Rub the mic. Rub the mic.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, there we go. Sorry for that. Still getting used to the setup over here. Yes, so 4C, the results and next steps regarding the Upper Russian River an interconnected surface water study request for proposals. Management staff would like to provide just an overview of the RFP and the selection process. And so the GSA has been fortunate to have received grant funding to conduct this very important study as part of the GSP. And the RFP solicitation period ended as of April 7th, and we did receive one proposal. So in that sense, it was a non-competitive process, and essentially staff recommends that the board approve of staff conducting an evaluation of that loan bid to assess its suitability in terms of past performance, proposed scope, and cost, and then to work with legal counsel to enter into a formal agreement with a not to exceed threshold, either at the lowest, whatever's lower, either the price point of the proposal or the price point of the grant, whichever is lower. And so this makes it easy for us. We have one bidder. I have reviewed the proposal. It does look sufficient at this time. We'll take a lengthy approach and make sure that it is. We will proceed with that selection if everything is suitable.
Director Crane?
I would prefer thorough than lengthy.
Understood.
Thank you, Director Crane. Are there other comments? Director McNerlin?
And when looking at their bid, will you be allocating a certain amount of that grant money to go towards the implementation administratively for that grant? So of course their bid wouldn't be the grant level, it would be below that, so that we would have some of that grant money to administer.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment from the board, I'll entertain a motion around the recommended action, which is direct staff to proceed with vendor selection with a not to exceed threshold pending the results of the competitive bid process.
So moved.
Second?
We have a first by Director Crane and a second by Director Gasca. A roll call vote, please.
Public comment?
Nope. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
All right. Thank you.
Member Gasca?
Aye.
Member McNerlin?
Aye.
Member Bailey?
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane?
Aye.
Chair Klein?
Aye. Great. Moving now to item 4D, Sustainability Groundwater Management Act, Facilitation Support Services, Implementation Service Plan. Turning again to our General Manager.
There we go. Yes, so before us is the item to discuss the Facilitation Support Services Implementation Service Plan. I'm just general comment, happy to see that we have this support. I think it was intended to provide GSA administrative support in terms of our responsibilities, and also conducting some important outreach to tribal community. And it's nice to see that there's that added levels of support. I also want to acknowledge that the ASR, and this is taking some ownership, there was, in preparation of this ASR, staff conducted some research and we pulled language from a previous application, so apologies for that. There was an application put forward, I think back in 2020, and then another application for support services just about a year or two ago. And some of the language included in the ASR is a little bit out to date. But to speak to that, I'd like to invite the co-presenter, Beth Salamone, to sort of fill in the gaps.
Through the chair, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Beth Salamone. In addition to being the chair of the TAC, I was also on the FSS ad hoc committee with board member Adam Gasca, board member Chris Watt, and TAC member Javier Silva. In conferring, again, to double check with my committee members, we do recommend implementing the attached service plan that was provided by Stantec. And I just want to point out that the funding expires March 31st, 2026. So we are on a clock here, and we'd like to take advantage of this funding, obviously, as much as possible. I think that the only area, with exception to sort of hitting the gas, would be the governance section. And I would like to suggest that the board direct Blake Adams, our general manager, to work with the ad hoc committee and Stantec to decide what of those tasks is still relevant. I know there's been discussion regarding legal counsel, addressing some of these issues, as well as the city of Ukiah with the staffing services. So I think Blake is a vital participant in deciding how that timeline will roll out. But I'm really looking forward to the strategic planning portion of this, as well as the outreach, and I think those should be full steam ahead, and that is the recommendation of the ad hoc committee. We would all four like to continue serving on that ad hoc committee, so today we ask you to reaffirm those 4 members of the ad hoc for 2025 and direct us to move forward, meeting with Stantec and implementing this plan.
All right, I'll look to my colleagues. Any comments, questions?
I would like to still stay on that ad hoc.
Okay. And then Director Gasca, can you remind me who else is on that ad hoc? We have TAC Chair.
TAC Chair, Sean White, Chris Watt, Javier Silva.
Sean, I don't think Sean was on it. I think it was Chris, Javier, Adam, and me.
Okay.
Chris Watt will stay on.
Okay. Thank you, Director Bailey. All right, at that point, I will look for a motion for recommended action, which is board to direct the Technical Advisory Committee to reform the FSS Ad Hoc Committee and engage with Stantec.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first from Director Crane, a second from Director Gasca.
Public comment.
Do we have any public comment?
No comment at this time.
Alrighty, I'll look for a roll call vote, please.
Member Gasca?
Aye.
Member McNerlin?
Aye.
Member Bailey?
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane?
Aye.
Chair Klein?
Aye. Alrighty, we're moving right along. Now to 4E, Annual Water Year 2024 Report Results. And for presenters, we have our General Manager, Sean White, City of Ukiah Water Resources Director, and Audra Beardsley from Larry Walker and Associates.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I'll defer to the technical experts of Sean and Audra to provide an overview of the results of this study. But I first just want to point out that a presentation was provided at the January board meeting as to the preliminary results of that study. There was also a more thorough presentation provided to the TAC board in March, early March, I believe. And due to the deadline of April 1st, 2025, we needed to submit that ahead of this meeting. And so that's why I just want to point out that the report has been submitted and we are compliant in that sense. I just want to point that out as to why the final report was not brought forward for approval, due to that cadence. So yeah, at this time, I'd probably turn to Audra Beardsley to provide a brief but thorough overview of the Water Year 2024 report.
All right, thank you so much, Blake, and also to Chair Klein. Blake is correct, so the report has been submitted successfully to DWR ahead of the deadline of April 1st. I want to express a lot of gratitude to TAC members who went ahead and provided review of the draft document, and also to Blake and Sean White at City of Ukiah, who also performed review and provided very helpful feedback that we were able to incorporate and revise as we developed the final draft of the annual report. So I also want to say this report is not possible without the cooperation and support of the member agencies who provide us with data regarding groundwater use, surface water diversions throughout the water year 2024. So that includes City of Ukiah, Russian River Flood Control, other members of the Ukiah Valley Water Authority. And so thank you to everybody. This is a large cooperative effort. It requires a lot of time and compilation of data. So we really appreciate that. High-level overview, as this board has seen some of the requirements for the annual report, preliminary findings for our key groundwater monitoring wells. Just want to note that we are happy to say that there were no occurrences of undesirable results that are described in the GSP this past water year. So that includes our 4 key sustainable management criteria that are identified for the basin. So 2 of them that are described in Sigma are not really applicable. That's seawater intrusion. We're an interior basin here in Ukiah. And then also land subsidence. Fortunately, that is not a substantial issue for Ukiah Basin. So we're thinking about groundwater elevation, groundwater storage, depletion of interconnected surface waters, and then the 4th is going to be groundwater quality. All were within an acceptable range. And I will note that having access to high frequency sensor data proved very useful, especially for the interconnected surface water network in identifying sort of the static groundwater level that allowed us to see that actually field measurements that were collected during the fall 2024 campaign by Mendocino County RCD. That was actually capturing active or very, very recent pumping. And so we were able to see that while that value was lower than we would like when comparing to the minimum threshold, actually looking at that sensor data allowed us to see that that static level where the groundwater level rose after recovering from that active pumping was right on track. So I just want to note again that the improvements that are being made to our network as part of GSP implementation, instrumenting additional representative monitoring point wells with water level sensors and telemetry so that we can keep track of these things is very valuable. And it proved to be valuable this year as we were completing the annual report compilation. Beyond that, I just want to highlight a couple of things that the GSA and its partner agencies have carried out in order to show progress towards GSP implementation and project management actions. So these include things like the City of Ukiah's effort to expand production and delivery of recycled water throughout the basin to offset need for surface water diversion. We also have had an initiation of a phase 1 well inventory by the GSA, and that's going to wrap up by the end of June this year. We also had, as I mentioned, expansion of the sensor network, which was another high priority item that was identified by the TAC last year as we prepare for the 2027 periodic evaluation and potentially plan update. Finally, as has been noted here earlier in the meeting, the GSA obtained grant funding to carry out an interconnected surface water groundwater dependent ecosystem study, which again is going to assist the GSA in making really solid progress towards that recommended corrective action that the GSA received from DWR during GSP review and approval back in 2023. So I hope that provides, again, a very quick but solid overview of conditions in the basin. Again, things are on track for meeting sustainability. We're seeing that sensor data is useful in more accurately understanding conditions in the basin, and the GSA has been making good progress towards GSP implementation ahead of that 2027 evaluation. And then I will hand it over to Sean in case he would like to add anything, but I want to say again, thank you to the GSA management and the partner agencies.
Great, thank you, Audra. I'll start with some comments. Just appreciate Larry Walker and Associates, staff, member agencies, and the TAC for their collaboration on this. It's always good to hear good news that our reporting is very positive. So appreciation for that. And then I look to my colleagues for any comments or questions. Something I discussed with the general manager was the timing of this report. Given it's an annual report and that due date will probably likely stay the same, would this board like to see a change in the calendar to reflect maybe a opportunity to review the report before its submission, or are we okay with the current cadence? Director Crane.
I would think the body should bless the report. So we probably should put it on an agenda item in the near term for us to approve or complain about. Ideally approve.
Thank you, Director Crane. Would look to our general manager in planning for the next year meeting schedule to have that reflect this deadline. All right, seeing no further comments, is there any public comment?
None online.
Good morning, board members and staff. I'm Glenn McGordy, former chair of the GSA, and I just want to say this is really the proof of the pudding of everything we live for, is to turn this report in, and I'm glad that we're making good progress according to our consultants. And you know, it was tumultuous to get here, but I think we can build on what's good science and good practices, and you know, we'll end up having a sustainable groundwater, which is something that's critically important as a resource. The activities that are going on are just really positive. So thanks for everybody's hard work making this happen.
Thank you. Seeing no other further public comment, we will now move to item 5, the consent calendar. On our consent calendar day, we have approval of the minutes for the January 9th, 2025 regular meeting. Look for a motion.
So moved. Approval.
Alrighty, we have a first by Director Crane, a second by Director Gasca. Look for a roll call vote, please.
Member Gasca.
Aye.
Member McNerlin.
Aye.
Member Member Bailey.
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane.
Aye.
Chair Klein.
Aye. Now moving to back to item 6, we had already heard the staff report from the general manager, but also want to open it up if there are other staff and partner updates for review at this time.
Staff has a few updates, just in addition to provide.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So just leaving off from where we started, I just want to point out that and address sort of I think a hot button issue, which is an upcoming need to amend the JPA, and as part of that, disbandment of IRWA as a member agency. And so I just want to provide some context that we're in close contact with IRWA regarding their intended disbandment at the end of this current fiscal year. I've spoken with counsel who have provided guidance that we do need to receive a formal notice in advance of that by 60 days. We do expect to have that in the coming days, but that intention has been communicated verbally, also via email, and we're just looking to receive that formal notice. But once we do, we'll likely bring that to the June board meeting for action, along with a set of other items related to the JPA. For example, I know that the TAC has an interest in perhaps changing some of the seats assignments. As a small example, I know there's some larger ones as well, but I just wanted to provide that context. In addition to, I think what we're seeing today, we're moving quite along, and it's sort of a streamlined agenda for today. That was somewhat intentional. Again, part of this transition, we are trying to manage tasks. One of the things that, there's actually 2 items, one that we've previously talked about, and another that's new for this discussion today that will be coming up in the June meeting. One is a formulation of a budget. The second will be some contractual actions. So there are some contracts that are either set to expire, might need to be amended. So in just preparation for the June meeting, we do expect a number of budgetary and contractual items to come forward, and we will ensure that we're properly prepared for those discussions. But I just wanted to set the tone for the June, the upcoming June board meeting. But beyond that, I do not have any staff updates at this time.
Thank you. I look for comments or questions from the board. Seeing none at this time, we'll turn to public comment. I see we have a hand raised on Zoom.
Hello again, everyone. I just wanted to give a little report out from the last TAC meeting, which was in March 5th. It was our first meeting staffed by the city, so we were, a lot of it was procedural, but it was good, getting things cleaned up and organized. We did review the draft annual report and the we discussed the ISW RFP that was being, the solicitation for support of the ISW that was going out, which are now settled, both of those. In addition, we did have an update on the FSS ad hoc from the ad hoc committee. And the other thing that we discussed a little bit was the website. So I would just ask if General Manager Blake would be able to speak to that a little bit, how the transition is being handled via the website, so that the public can definitely find information on the GSA, particularly when it comes to the rates and fees that we've just recently implemented, and agenda packets, of course. And thank Christine Lawler, who clerked the meeting, who did a fantastic job and continues to do so. And I just would like to ask also Chair Klein if that was confirmation from the board on the FSS that we can begin moving forward on that. I didn't quite hear how that resolved.
Yes, I'll jump in. I believe the board's intention was that it was a green light to proceed.
Great. Thank you very much. And just to confirm, we will be including Blake in all future FSS ad hoc meetings, especially with the consultant Stantec. So thank you all very much.
Thank you for the public comment. And yes, to address the issue or the item of I would call it IT websites, emails, that sort of thing. So yes, and part of this transition, I think this is a main topic that we're working on. Currently, members of the public, if you do go online to the Ukiah Valley Basin GSA website, and you are looking for information about meetings, it will now redirect you to the City of Ukiah's website, which lists all meetings under the City of Ukiah's purview. And then there you can find information about the agenda as well as the supporting documentation in the packet. I think we will continue to evaluate opportunities to improve both websites to make sure that we're fully transparent and providing really easy access for folks to find things like the fee finder map, other resources. And I think in a year's time, probably a year ahead, there might be some larger changes related to the website, but for now we're comfortable keeping things as they are. And so for members of the public looking for information about the meeting, again, you can go online either to the City of Ukiah webpage under meetings, or to the Ukiah Valley Basin GSA website, which will redirect you to the City of Ukiah's.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, there's one more person online who'd like to speak. Dominic, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, okay, great. Yeah, so I'm Dominic Blum-Gutierrez with the Department of Water Resources. So I just have two short updates this time. There's Prop 4 was passed, and that allowed the state to sell bonds and to use that money for climate-related grants. And so if you would like to weigh in on how that money is spent, there's a survey that closes on April 18th. I will send that information to Blake, and he can distribute that to the board and the TAC as he sees fit. And then my second item is, sorry, I'm trying to go through my notes. Where did it go? Okay, so there's a new program that we've launched called the Basin Characterization Exchange. And basically what this is this is not us recharacterizing basins. This is supposed to be a forum for GSA's state, local government, consultants, tribes, nonprofits, academia, and interested parties to share resources. So I'll also send that information in that email to Blake. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that update. Again, look to my colleagues. Any questions or comments? Director McNerlin.
So the website, when you go to the GSA website, you can still pull things up, but when you click on an agenda or something, it pushes you over to the city website. Is that what you were saying?
Not quite, but generally yes. So when you go to the meetings section of the Ukiah Valley Basin GSA website,
yeah,
when you pull up the scheduled meetings, there'll be a link that you can click, which will redirect you to the City of Ukiah's webpage with all of the information that you can find. And again, as I mentioned, I think we're evaluating. We've gotten lots of comments here just in the last couple of months as to both from members of the public as well as members of the TAC and board about the website and its function, its ease of access. I think we're really going to try to improve on that over time. But for now, we're just trying to keep things stable so folks can understand how to access meetings.
Yeah, I guess my only comment was I wanted to make sure that we still had a standalone website so that there's no confusion on whether this is a city board or, you know, the public could easily confuse, yes, they're doing all our administration work under contract, but this is still an independent board, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to make sure there was always going to be that line and that standalone website for GSA.
Thank you, Director McNerlin. I'll echo my support for that. I think it's appropriate to have the perception of the GSA standalone website. Okay, any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, I believe we have one more comment online.
Oh, no, actually, I was indicating that if you wished, I could share the website.
Is anyone interested in seeing that at this point? Hopefully we all checked it out when we were looking at the agenda, so.
Because the email was from the city, I just went straight to the city website.
Okay.
So I didn't go through our website when we got noticed for this. So while I was sitting here, I was going through it, right? Yeah, hoping our website hadn't changed.
Okay, good. Alrighty, seeing no further comments from the board or the public, we'll move on to 7, future agenda items and set next meeting date. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 12th, 2025 at 10 a.m. I don't think we need action for this. Actually,
may I?
Yes.
I want to let the board know that would be the last meeting for IRWA because IRWA will dissolve on the beginning of the new fiscal year. I won't be here for that meeting. I'm going to be on a planned vacation, but because it is a really important meeting for somebody to be sitting here, I hope we can get an alternate to sit in, since they will be discussing the new JPA and the budget.
Well, thank you, Director McNerlin, for your service. I hope you enjoy your vacation. We're going to miss you on the board. So, Director Gasca.
Yeah, I had a request. We'd prior been meeting at 1, and we'd moved it earlier for Teresa. And so I was wondering if it would work to move back to that original time. If not, it's okay with me. I have another board meeting that it conflicts with in the morning.
I don't have an issue with moving it to the afternoon. Anyone else on the board have a preference? I see Director Crane's looking at his calendar.
Conflict, 1:33.
Director Crane, is that a reoccurring conflict or a one-off?
Probably will occur a couple more times.
So,
What about a bit later in the day?
So we had spoken earlier and we talked about having meetings a little more consistently. What do you, meeting-wise for this board, are we looking at every quarter, every other month, always the second Thursday, so that, you know, everyone can nail in their schedules here?
Yeah, I appreciate bringing that item up for discussion. I think at the June meeting, we anticipated another item to set the calendar for the future fiscal year. And as we previously addressed, you know, trying to align meetings with certain deadlines so that the board can approve things before those deadlines. And so that would be part of the discussion, and I would work with the chair and take, obviously, input from the rest of the board as to what would be the appropriate schedule for moving forward. Did I fully address what was maybe the first part?
We'll figure it out in June, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah,
So
exactly.
This works. I can.
You can only do 10.
I can do the 10.
Seeing that we have different schedules for our directors at this time, I think we should keep our time for the June meeting and then look in our preparation of the future calendar for alternative options and ask my colleagues to share availability directly with the general manager in preparation of that item.
That works.
Thank you all. With that, we will adjourn at 10:53.
Well done. Like a duck.